Welcome to the reality check, live as always. So, I welcome you. Don't mind me if I look a little weird tonight, because I got a bigger monitor, and I can see more of my flaws, which is even worse. But, that being said, we'll move on. What do we want to talk about this week? So much going on, as you guys know. News breaking all the time. Stories, non-politics, politics. It's all over the place. But questions that we need to think about, I'd say. If you can meet any three people that have ever lived, who would those people be and why? Not just I'd like to meet this person, that person. No, none of the yeah, of course you'd like to see your relatives that die. But I mean, this is just people that you've never met before. You meet three people, I guess famous people are important to you people, just non-family. Who would they be and why? What are your opinions on lawyers? Haha, no cursing allowed. But really, what is it like? What do you think their function in society is? I mean, between lawyers and, who they represent, the law, just all that stuff. Really, what is their focus in society, or what is their function in life? Why do we need lawyers? Why don't we need lawyers? And then, of course, the big one, especially this time of year, is commencement speeches. You go around and look at these colleges, and just not only the moronic people they have talking at some of these college commencement speeches, now the ones that try to slip their politics in, not only that, those people, but just the absolute buffoons like Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, Rod Rosenstein, Jimmy Carter, Justin Trudeau. Why would any college have this guy? Susan Collins. I mean, just on and on and on. Kamala Harris, Luis Gutierrez, Ted Lieu. I mean, just absolute buffoons. We'll get into that later. Sometimes it's unimaginable, but that's the way it is. Unimaginable. So, let's see. They have that little word test where, do you hear this? Do you hear that? They have a new one that just came out, and it's what do you hear? Do you hear Obama or Hillary? And what you do hear is criminal, 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 criminal. That's all you need to hear for those two. So I thought that was a good one. Really excited about that. Stormy Daniels, in the news here and there, the lawyers in the news on TV every day. So his law firm was hit with a $10 million judgment Tuesday in U.S. bankruptcy court. Here's a guy that didn't pay taxes. I mean, just shady as can be. Even his ex-wife's after him. She wants to get this divorce done and be done with him, and he has no time for that, but he has time to be on TV. What else do you got? I mean, the shady covering the shady. And still no word on who gave him money to pay some of his debts that he had. So, what about the... we had the DNC, right? They said their computer got hacked, right? That's part of this Russian collusion and whatnot. And they had CrowdStrike was their security place that's supposed to be watching over these things. And we know, common sense will tell you, who hacked the DNC server? To me, it would be the Iwans. They sold equipment, they stole secrets, they sold. Now, where did Podesta's information come from? Well, that was simple. Him not following protocol, gave up his passcode because he's just logging into random sites, obviously. What does Seth Rich have to do with this, right? But the one thing, when we go back to this, and we talk this from time to time, because you hear these fools in the news talk about it, there's no proof at all of anything but the exception of Podesta with this stupid idiot who put his passcodes out there. I mean, think about it. The Obama Justice Department never took custody of the server. No subpoena, no search warrant. Mr. Comey, their FBI director, said that the DNC had denied the Bureau's request to examine the breached server. So you're reporting a crime, and you don't want anyone to take. I mean, this would be the equivalent of, and obviously I'm talking about something a little bit different here, but just as an example, if a girl said she got raped, and the police take her down and they get rape test kit, no, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Well, I got raped. I want you to arrest these people because they did it, but I'm not going to have a test kit. You're not going to take any, skin cells from under my fingernails. I'm just telling you I got raped and nothing. Where's that case going? Nowhere. As a matter of fact, the cops were like, if you're not going to cooperate with us, you're basically a hostile witness at best. So this is what the DNC did. They denied the Bureau's request to examine these servers. CrowdStrike was their security. They were the only ones who had access to these computer systems. So basically, James Comey believed what CrowdStrike said. So somebody that can you imagine if your local police department had a warrant to come into your house because there's drugs there, and your lawyer comes out and said, sorry guys, I'm just not going to let you search it. I know he has no drugs here, so you're done for the night. How would that go over? That's what we have here. In the whole case of collusion, time and time again, spies in the Trump campaign, not spies in the Trump campaign. What we do know is, there's a huge timeline of this stuff. We have, Hillary Clinton improperly used unsecure servers, personal email domain, and her and Obama exchanged emails, and Obama knew that she was on a personal server. That's one of the reasons why they don't want a lot of these documents, unredacted. And then at the point of when you're going to get documents at this point, your requests have been denied for years. Do you really think you're getting almost anything with real documents? They're going to hide out whatever they can, some way by changing them, Remember 2013, it was the FBI interviewed Carter Page, who lived and worked in Russia, and they're just talking about his ongoing contacts with Russia. So Page reportedly told FBI agents that their time would be better spent, investigating other people like the Boston Marathon bombers, which is an FBI. At the time, Andrew McCabe was leading the FBI. Page later claimed that his remark prompted the FBI to have a retaliatory campaign against him. The FBI under McCabe would later wiretap Page when Page was the Donald Trump campaign advisor, which Page had actually helped them arrest some Russians. He was actually an American spy helping to arrest Russians. And then somehow they turned on him with no evidence, and then now they're trying to say, well, we're listening to him, that's how we got on to Trump, which all that story's already fallen apart. So the FBI secretly recorded suspected Russian industrial spy was Evgeny Buryakov, and it was later reported that Page helped the FBI build a case to get this guy. Like I said before, Page had helped them get people. So let's see, Robert Mueller left in 2013, Comey came on, Russia invades Ukraine, and Ukraine starts hiring U.S. lobbyists to make its case against Russia, right? And we were supposed to be against Russia, start a war. Hillary Clinton said Russia's, pretty much dumb. And then Ukraine forms National Anti-Corruption Bureau as a condition to receive U.S. aid. And the National Anti-Corruption Bureau later signs evidence sharing agreement with the FBI related to the Trump-Russia probe. So the Ukrainian-American Alexander Chupla was a paid consultant for the DNC, begins researching lobbyist Paul Manafort's Russia's tie. So FBI investigates, wiretaps Paul Manafort, we know that, for allegedly not properly disclosing his Russian-related work. FBI fails to make a case. So that was 2014. They failed to make a case, and now as you see in the future now, they've charged him. And that was stuff at that time that was literally almost 10 years old, and they had no case. And now all of a sudden, with no new evidence, somehow they have a case, and just because they want to put the fire on him, so hopefully he gives them and spills the goods. They want him to spill the goods about Trump, which the guy obviously doesn't have anything, or by now it would totally be out. What was it, 2015, FBI opens investigation into Terry McAuliffe, including donations from a Chinese businessman and a Clinton Foundation donor. So an FBI official, Andrew McCabe, met with McAuliffe, a close Clinton ally. Afterwards, McAuliffe aligned political groups that donated about $700,000 to McCabe's wife for her campaign because she was trying to become a Democratic state senator in Virginia. So you see that McCabe's another investigation. McCabe's supposed to be looking into McAuliffe, and somehow nobody's found guilty. And here it is, $700,000. Boom. The New York Times breaks news about Clinton's improper handling of classified email as Secretary of State. And Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta suggests Obama withhold Clinton's email from Congressional Benghazi Committee under executive privilege. Obviously, multiple things to hide. Now, Obama did that many times. He did that with Eric Holder, where everything was executive privilege, which it really wasn't. Just like Fast and Furious, it was they were hiding. They knew they got caught with their pants on. They were doing things that were wrong. We had, then Attorney General Loretta Lynch. She directed Comey to call the Clinton probe a matter rather than an investigation. What difference does that wording make? And Hillary, what difference does it make, as Hillary Clinton said? Why would they need to change the wording to a matter instead of an investigation? It wasn't a matter. We don't care about matter. We care about investigation. That's why the FBI was involved. So Comey follows the instruction. So here's a guy who, he's not scared of anybody, but yet Loretta Lynch comes calling, and boom, he's changing the wording. That's disgraceful. And one of the reasons that showed that Comey was unqualified to be director of FBI, much less being even a peon in the FBI. He later testified, Comey, that it made him queasy. Yeah, right. Please, you could have stood up and said, no, I'm going to call it an investigation. What were they going to do? Fire you, put you in jail? Nothing. So Obama said that he first learned of Clinton's email practices through news reports. And that was a typical Obama excuse for everything. I learned through news reports. The smartest guy with the highest IQ, the smartest president ever, and the only way he ever learns about any criminal activity that's right under his nose that he took part in, because he did exchange emails with Clinton, was through news reports. Amazing. So Clinton campaign staffers contradict that. That when Obama said he just found out, because they know he emailed her. And Cheryl Mills actually said that they need to clean it up because they know they exchanged emails, Clinton and Obama. Obama knew that he wasn't emailing her at a .org, the .gov, whatever, it was a personal email. He knew. The guy, smartest president in the world, has to know the difference between the three letters after the email and where it's at, where it's going. I mean, just, most common folk would know the difference. So, let's see, Justice Department Assistant Attorney General for Legislative Affairs, Peter Kadzik, emails the Clinton campaign, John Podesta, from a private Gmail account to give him a heads up involving congressional questions about Clinton's email. Right there, another conflict of interest. That's like somebody calling you, hey, the police are they have a search warrant, they're about to search your house. So then they say that summer, which was 2015, DNC computers are hacked. Still no proof of that. Then we had Glenn Simpson, the co-founder of political opposition research Fusion GPS. He was hired by a conservative website, the Washington Free Beacon, and they wanted negative research on Donald Trump and other Republicans. Then, as Obama used his confidentiality to keep the Benghazi emails with Hillary Clinton secret, because they know what would have came out there. So, we go on and on from that. We had Adam Shifty Shift, he's Mr. California over there. He said that Clinton is not under criminal investigation. Well, yeah, it's because they changed the wording to a matter. Remember, Clinton testified in October 2015 to the Benghazi committee. That was where she made her famous, "What difference does it make? Who cares if they're dead people," pretty much. They gave the order to stand down. Nobody's cleared up why that was. It doesn't matter how hard, how far away, we still send somebody to help. It's just like if you called the police and they're 5 minutes away, they're not going to say, well, you're going to get shot before we get there, so we're not really going to come and help you. No, they're going to be like, we're going to try to get there as soon as we can. Do what you can. We'll do what we can. So John Podesta, remember, he met for dinner with a few friends, including the Peter Kadzak guy who I just mentioned, who was a Justice Department official. No conflict of interest, right? As you'll see, there are many of them. You had, let's see, Comey named Bill Priestap, Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Division. Comey kind of changing up some of the people, as you can see. He replaced the head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division in the Washington field office with Charles Cable, kind of getting his guys in there. So remember, the Obama officials vastly expand their search through the NSA database for Americans and content of their communications. In 2013, there were nearly 9,600 searches involving 195 Americans. In 2016, just 3 years later, Mr. Transparency went from the 9,600 to over 30,000. And that went from 195 Americans who they searched through their data to over almost 5,300. Then we had Justice Department Assistant Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr, which a name you'll hear about. He meets with the Fusion GPS Christopher Steele, and so forth and so on. And we can go with the whole dossier, whatever. We can go through this whole list. Maybe we'll go over the rest of it next week. We're going to get back to some of our questions. But as you see, it's all built up to the same thing. They had spies in the Trump campaign. The stories changed 100 times. Originally, it was Carter Page. Then it was Papadopoulos. And now, people fed Papadopoulos and Page information. So from the get-go, they were spying. And this is a typical thing for Obama, as you see and know. Remember, Obama spied on the people that were against him with the Iran deal. He had spied on reporters to find who was for or against it illegally with their communications. And retribution with the IRS against anybody who was anti-Obama policy. They didn't get their special licenses they needed to start collecting funds and have anything, any competition. So we'll continue some of that next week. That's just a big timeline that we have about just a big corruption of it. It's a lot to take in one show. So we can go back to, obviously, normal things you hear: school shootings, NRA. Now, firstly, the NRA is just for people's right to bear arms. I'm not a member of the NRA, but nothing they do really offends me. But I mean, if you want to make the case, everyone talks about it. NRA funding all these people. They're funding everybody, all the money. I mean, just look. NRA was like a little bit over 3.2 million from 2012 to 2016. Planned Parenthood was 7.8 million, more than double. Nobody's complaining about Planned Parenthood. And now watch what you see here. I mean, look about, kids that were killed. NRA, I don't know if any NRA members have killed any kids, but I know Planned Parenthood, over 1.9 million kids dead thanks to Planned Parenthood. If you look at the percentage of their annual budget of the money they take in, Planned Parenthood and NRA, how much comes from the taxpayer? Nothing comes from taxpayer. NRA does not get any taxpayer money. Planned Parenthood, 40%. So just like, how am I putting this? How is a place that gets 40% of their money from taxpayers donating to any political party? It makes sense. We're funding it. So our money is going back to pay for other candidates. It makes no sense. This is why Planned Parenthood should totally be unfunded, defunded, not funded at all. Just like PBS, we don't need any of this stuff. Let's save taxpayers' money. We can use the money to feed the homeless or for vets because they need better medical care. Why waste money on these things? Makes no sense at all. So now, on the school shootings things, people always talk about the guns and whatnot. I mean, I have no problem with more extensive background checks, absolutely. But the one thing is, the majority of these shootings have one thing in common, and it's just drugs. Some of it's illegal, but most of it's the legal prescription drugs, the ADHD medicines, stuff like that. It's alarming the amount of not only misuse of the medications, somebody's on medication and then all of a sudden they don't have the money or the insurance to keep on that medication. The amazing physical reaction that people can't control, because if you're on these medications, you really can't get off. And that's why I know parents, and I myself would never want to put my kids on these type of medications. You put them on these medications, it's a life sentence. It's like somebody telling you, do you want to amputate your kid's arm? It's a life sentence. They can't get off of them. The minute if they're taking these things, as the older they get, they're going to keep them on it till they're at least 18, because they're still under your control. And if you're listening to the doctor, they up these doses. And when they're 18, at that time, if they were to go cold turkey, it doesn't end up well in most cases. These drugs are so powerful, mind-altering. I mean, and you look at them. Look at the modern-day medicine, the trash, and you know it. You know it as a person. Look at the trash. Any commercial you see, the trash that they put out and they call medicine, right? Look at any of these commercials. Oh, you have an allergy. You could take this, whatever. And you're going to, possible bleeding from the head, possible anal discharge, possible diarrhea, possible stomach cramps, possible heart attack, these symptoms are worse than the original thing you had. It's like when you take your high blood pressure medication and you have to take 4 other medications to counteract that. Are you really better off? I mean, man, you're almost in a worse situation. And that's the way these things are. They build up, and you almost can't at that point take it away from these kids. So they have a lifetime sentence. That's the biggest thing you see. Most of these kids are either on these type of drugs or were on these type of drugs, and things aren't right. I mean, to have that and the constant social awkwardness, which is another big one. And some of it's from the medication, because, man, you get in a show when you're taking these medications. But some of it, too, is just parents that don't parent their kids. And everything is, my babysitter's a video game, and I'm going to have my kids play a video game all day. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm too busy to spend any time or talk to them or do anything for them, and they're going to play video games all day. And when you do that, you see these kids, they become almost non-feeling when that's all they do, and they play violent video games. And you see kids that are 10 years old playing things with machine guns, they're killing people. I mean, they had that whole game family where you're going up and you're punching cops in the face, and you're taking your bike and beating people over the head with it. It's cute, it's funny, you see it every once in a while. But if that's the whole game, that's all you're doing, that's all your kid's done for whatever city it was called, 5 years in a row, and that's what they're playing, they become numb to that. You see that all day long for 5 years. You almost get programmed. You're going to walk onto the street, you're not going to hit someone over the head with the bike. That's nothing. How about I just mow down a few people with a gun? I want to see what that's like. And that's what half of these kids sound like. The video games, the drugs, that's it. I mean, you look at it in any other sense, too. I mean, you can look at it from some of the kids in the Middle East, right? They get programmed almost the opposite way, where, I shouldn't even say the opposite way, but you see their kids' cartoons, they're all about violence. They're, in some of these countries, kill Jews. You see Mickey Mouse cutting off Jews' heads, attacking Jews. And now you have kids 7 years old, just sitting there with little machine gun, Uzis, guns popping off people because they're Jewish. That's what they're raised at. That's what they see on TV. And when this kid's a teenager, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to start shooting up every Jew he could find. You know, I'm not saying it's just against the Jewish thing, but that there's a culture that actually trains their kids like that. What do you think is going to happen if you let a kid, when he's 5, 6 years old, walk around with a gun, shoot this person, shoot that person? You know they're different than you. Shoot them. What do you think is going to happen by this time the kid's a teenager? That's all he knows. That's all he's programmed to do. You know how hard it is when your parents, even little habits, to break out of them years later, 20, 30 years later, break out little habits that your parents did, even if you know it's not right. And these are minor things, how hard it is to break away from that. Now you think about a majority, that's a good one, but a majority of somebody's life acting a certain way because that's the way you're told. It's almost non-functional. It's hard to break away from that. Speaking of stories where it's hard to break away from, there's a story that a parents took their 30-year-old son to court. The couple was so fed up with their unemployed 30-year-old son's refusal to leave the nest that they finally sued to evict him, and they won. It was Mark and Christina Rotundo were forced to the extreme parenting measure after giving their layabout millennial boy Michael cash for moving expenses, pleading with him to get on with his life, and finally sent legal notices demanding he grow up and move out. Michael, after discussion with your mother, we have decided that you must leave this house immediately. So that letter was dated February 2nd. It concludes you have 14 days to vacate. We'll take whatever actions necessary to enforce this decision. They later offered him $1,100 to find a place to stay and gave him parental advice, including organize the things you need for work and to manage his apartment. Sell other things that don't have any significant value to you. They even implored him to start making money. There are these things called jobs available, right? Even if you have a poor work history, you can get one. It's called a job. So nothing obviously moved Michael from his epic failure to launch. And so funny, the judge ruled that this judge's ruling pretty much for him to get out and accept adulthood. So Michael was really mad. It's really unfair to me and really outrageous, said the son, a self-described businessman who has a young boy of his own whom he lost custody. I really don't want to stay there, he told the Post from a bus after his life-altering court loss. I've been trying to leave there for a long time. They stopped feeding me. They cut me off with a family phone plan. Asked if he thought mom and dad were merely trying some tough love, Michael sounded like a child who had just been punished. I don't think trying to destroy somebody's tough love. The bizarre family feud boiled over on May 7th when Mom Christina filed suit in the Onondaga County Supreme Court, seeking to evict Michael from their modest residence in Camillus. The stubborn son, who turns 31 in July and has lived at home for the past 8 years, had declined to go even after a series of eviction letters were sent to him between February 2nd and March 30th. Oh my gosh, this is not too amazing because I've seen it before. I've actually heard people in their 30s, in the 35 years old, talk about parents cutting them off. Can you believe my parent cut me off? Can you believe my parents charging me $150 a month to live in their mansion? Not unbelievable, sadly. You see this all the time. This is sadly a big take in the world today. Another sad thing in the world today, might I add, Barack and Michelle Obama, who got how many millions of dollars for a book they haven't even published yet? Now they're collecting more money. A multi-year deal with Netflix. So I remember Obama talking about a point where you've earned too much money. Isn't there a point, he said, where you've earned too much money? And I asked the same question to you, Mr. Barack Obama. Isn't there a point where you've earned too much money? Or does that not apply to you, Mr. Obama? And what are they going to do on Netflix? I mean, I really hope that Netflix has some forethought on this, like for say, like when Obama it comes out, he helps by not only in the Trump campaign but all those criminal things he did, and hopefully he's on trial for crimes against America and humanity. That maybe that'll be the documentary. That would be a good documentary. That would be awesome. But as they say, time to move on to the next story. So, when Maxine Muddy or Dirty Waters isn't wasting taxpayer dollars and demanding that 45 be impeached, she's been busy funneling over $100,000 from her campaign to her daughter. You think it's a shock now? It's not the first time that she did it. Remember her husband with the bank loans too, a long time ago. Friends of friends. I mean, here's somebody who doesn't even live in the district that she represents. She lives in a $4 million mansion in one of the richest counties in Los Angeles. She doesn't take pride in where she represents. If where she represents is so good, how come she can't? I mean, you think about almost any town, you could find a nice house to live in. And if you're the representative for there, and you have been for years, you would think if you're doing such a good job, there'd be somewhere that you'd want to live in your own district. Maxine Toilet Waters? No. So now you find out she's paying her daughter, and this isn't the first time, by the way, more than $100,000 in campaign funds, according to the FEC. So Citizens for Waters has already paid $42,862 to her daughter Karen Waters since the beginning of 2017, the FEC files would show. The campaign is scheduled to pay the younger Waters another $65,000 for her professional services working on a slate mailer. Rep. Waters' campaign debt to her daughter was first noted in April of 2017 by the Washington Free Beacon. The campaign has yet to report any payments on the debt at the time. Since then, the campaign has reported 9 payments to Karen Waters ranging from $3,000 to $7,000. But we know she's been under ethical problems in the past, right? She was named one of the most corrupt members of Congress in 2011, and nothing much has changed since then, except for screaming a little louder and talking about everybody else. In the midst of the national financial catastrophe, Rep. Muddy Waters used her position as a senior member of Congress and a member of the House Financial Services Committee to prevail upon Treasury officials to meet with One United Bank. She never disclosed that her husband held stocks in the bank. Not shocking. But remember, if you disagree or call out Muddy Waters, you are a racist. Now, it would be nice. Maybe Trump should start shouting, "Impeach Dirty Waters, impeach Dirty Waters." That would be good. That would be some fun times. That'd be actually really good. Maybe she can have a debate with Trump. That would be awesome. So, not sure about, obviously I can't confirm a story like this. I mean, who knows? If you're there, you're there. But it was an interesting little story that came out in a few news sources. And it's confirming, or these people are saying they confirmed, that Barack Obama called Jay-Z several times over the past few months. And he's basically been encouraging encouraging, yeah, I don't know if that's the right word. Well, he's basically telling Jay-Z to discourage fellow hip-hop artists from meeting with President Trump, or basically agreeing with him. Obviously, we know about the Kanye West thing, and then there were some other rappers that even came out and just said, blacks don't have to be Democrats, and they got attacked right away. And then all of a sudden they take it back. So obviously somebody's talking. So maybe Jay-Z is this middleman taken up, and this is what you get. It's not going to work. In general, most of the people who are intelligent couldn't really care less what Jay-Z says. I mean, really, look at his history. Is he somebody that's a hero to anybody? No. Sorry. Not, no. So, it's something I read that I got a little chuckle out of the other day. And we hear about all the investigations. There needs to be investigation on this, special counsel to special counsel on this and that, and yada, yada, yada. You know how you hear all that stuff. But the one thing that was pretty cool was they said there needs to be an investigation to find out if anyone in the Obama administration had ties to America. I thought that was cute. And actually, that would probably be a lot really hard to find. I mean, to be honest, ties to America now, not much. But, so let's see. What do we have? Okay, so back to our questions, right? We started out the show. 3 people you'd like to meet and why. Now, for me, I'd say 3 people that I've been curious to meet. There are many, but I would say just in general, maybe George Washington, Babe Ruth, and Michael Savage. So, I mean, George Washington, president who actually fought in the war, a guy, first president of the United States. I mean, just amazing some of the stuff he accomplished, how he even survived half the time when he fought in the war, outsmarted opponents. Just, it would be really interesting to just sit there, pick his brain, talk about what he thought about being the first president, what he thinks about the country today. It would be an amazing just to sit down and have dinner and talk to someone like that. It would just be incredible to hear what he'd have to say, or what he thought about even before he became president. Did he even have any of that stuff in mind? Did he think he was just fighting for rights of people, or maybe he thought his life was over, but he was fighting for his ancestors' lives? I mean, who knows? But it'd be very interesting. I'd love to meet, obviously, Babe Ruth was the next person I mentioned. Obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, sports fan, but Babe Ruth, I mean, transcended time. You think about what he did on the field, off the field. I mean, here was a guy who, off the field, was just a party. And when he wasn't a party, he actually was always doing nice stuff for kids. I mean, amazing. Just the stuff he did, going to kids' hospitals. Back at the time, we had a lot less time to do this stuff. It's not like now you can get places quicker. There's a camera everywhere you go, so if you do one nice thing, everybody sees it. But back in the time, I mean, Babe Ruth, you didn't really see that much stuff. It's because it was, there wasn't the media coverage now. And just amazing to see, just to talk to him about, how he grew up like that, how he, why he helped kids out so much. It was really nice. Just even playing to be, I don't think we've ever had like a player, I mean, just in sports that much, maybe a Wayne Gretzky in hockey, but like, even Wayne Gretzky, like, people have had great seasons like Wayne Gretzky won, maybe one in their career, but obviously Wayne Gretzky did it for so many years, and that's what made him so tremendous in hockey. But Babe Ruth, but I mean, this guy like invented the home run. He had more homers some years than the rest of the American League. And to be a successful pitcher, and then to go to be a hitter, to be sold to another team, to just, I mean, have the whole, like, he was baseball. He had the whole sport, and at the time, that was America's pastime. Literally, the country of America. I mean, obviously, there were war heroes and all that stuff, way more important, but just as far as sports, had that all on his back, and just to take the country, I mean, just, it was amazing. It'd just be really, really cool just to pick his brain and hear about that stuff and life at that time and what he thinks now of baseball and life, and just how he thinks he became that awesome. And then lastly, and obviously there's tons of people that I'd like to meet, but Michael Savage, we all know, talk show host, famous author, doctor, just an amazing career, an amazing story. Came from East Coast, lives in San Fran now. It's just pretty amazing. Not only the success that he's had from being like a plant researcher at one time in the Fiji Islands, to writing how many books on health before politics. I mean, he's had one career after another that has been just a success at everything he's done. Not, I mean, everything he's done, but like in general, how many careers he has that have been successful? From the plants to the medicine to now a talk show host. I mean, amazing. And how many #1 books in all those fields. Most people can only do one field. He did so many fields. Not only the charity work he does, saving animals, elephants, stuff like that, really good. Being honest with his opinion, I mean, just the straight up honesty where he's constantly, his advertisers are getting attacked, he's getting attacked, he's had to sue, I mean, to get out of contracts where they're holding him back. Just not only an amazing journey, but actually, you look at even his kids. I don't know if you know much, but his son was actually the one who started Rockstar, energy drinks, and owns that, and his wife's actually a CEO of that. But just an amazing ride on how, just the amazing success from the immigrant son to where he is today. And to keep on going at the stage of his life that he's at, I mean, pretty active working, I'd see myself at that. It'd be just nice to listen to him and talk and just hear the whole story and how the world's evolved in his whole lifetime, which has been a pretty big span of time. That would be cool. So, I mean, you guys can always share yours. Next was the question of lawyers, right? The lawyers. So, what do we think is their role in society? Now, of course, there are a lot of lawyers that are low-lifes, and there are a lot of lawyers that are, obviously good people, as any field has. But, I mean, to me, there was obviously a big court case that kind of knocked down a lot of these lawsuits where it's everyone joining the class action and, we're going to get $20 million from this company and shut them down and we'll teach them. And then you as the actual victim who got robbed gets like 53 cents. Here, fill out all this paperwork right here. Fill it all out. You fill out these 10 pages right here and you'll get your 53 cents. And oh, by the way, make sure you put a stamp on that envelope. So, I mean, that's unfortunately the way with the class action lawsuits. Supreme Court struck a lot of that down the other day, making people, if you want to do it, you do it on your own. This way, you'll get more if the company's liable, and then the company, instead of having to defend against, basically a conglomerate, and you're going to have 10 lawyers because they know if they win $70 million, they get 50. I mean, you see, there's nothing wrong at a time, and these lawyers are already sending right away. The company got a letter, they owe $50 million. Oh, we want $15 million now, we're going to sue you. And that just hurts the consumer in general a lot of times, even if a company did. If McDonald's gave you your coffee too hot, and then some jerk suing because of that, who pays at the end of the day? It's me and you who try to buy coffee 2 years later, who now have to have the stupid little label on it and have to pay the extra money because of the lawsuit that was lost. It's just like when they talk about raising the tax on the business, like, yeah, we'll show those businesses. No, the only people you're hurting are the customers who are going to have to pay more. Business can't pay tax because it doesn't make money unless it sells stuff. So, for the lawyers, my theory has always been that most lawyers, I don't say should be unemployed. I would just say that most cases should be handled by mediators, and there should be, like, if people have little civil disputes, anything on a small level. Now, as far as lawyers, like you're trying to sue me or whatnot, nobody should have a lawyer at all. You defend yourself in every case. You're going to have to look up the stuff. You're going to have to convince somebody reasonably, whether it's by letter of law or by reality, facts of the matter. The only people that should have lawyers are people that are mentally disabled, mentally ill, or underage. All our kids should be represented by a lawyer in court. But as far as grown adults, sorry, but defend yourself. If you've been wrong, defend yourself. Explain it. If it makes sense, the mediator will agree with you. That's it. I mean, to waste all this time in court, all this money suing people for the most ridiculous stuff. Somebody breaks in your house and they trip over a broken tile in your house and you're going to get sued. I mean, this is why I'm not a judge, because I would be like, are you kidding me? If you don't get out of my court right now, I'm going to put you in jail. I would say that constantly. Just these stupid, I put a lit stick in my mouth and now I have cancer, and I want to sue this company for that. What? What did you think was going to happen when you lit something on fire and put it in your mouth? What did you think that was going to happen, you know? I sat in a tanning bed every day for 30 years, and now my skin's ruined. I want to sue them. Yeah, you're a moron. Get out of my court. Goodbye. So this is why, if they didn't have the lawyers who are doing the pro bono because they're getting paid, or the ACLU come and protect the child molesters, we can get rid of all that stuff in one swoop thing if I had my way. Lawyers gone, except for the kids, mentally ill, mentally disabled. That's it. Sorry. You have an argument with somebody, go to court, mediate it, no lawyers. If you can't express why you're wrong, if you can't make somebody see it, you can, verbally lose a case, but have the facts behind you pretty easily. If you're right, that's it. It goes to you. That's just, it's basic common sense. It's a waste of time. Get these, lawyers probably the oldest profession in the world. They say hookers, prostitutes. No, it's probably lawyers, oldest profession in the world. Let's be done with it and move on to a better life for everybody else. And businesses not have to worry every day they're going to get sued or God forbid something, Sorry. It'd just be a better world that way. More fluid. People can get along better, and you don't have to worry about these sleaze buckets. Real sleaze buckets who just want to get every penny they can for themselves, and the real victims never get anything, so it doesn't even help out them. So, next one, the commencement speeches, right? So, I don't even know how these colleges pick, but for instance, Yale the other day, right? They had, just this moron, Hillary Clinton. Firstly, she's a multi-time failed presidential candidate. And okay, I'm not going to discredit everything, but multi-time failed. Okay, so she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Sorry. And she, speaking at Yale, and so she talks about if you can't beat him, join him. She told the crowd, I see you looking out and you're following the tradition of over-the-top hats. So I brought a hat too, she said, a Russian hat. Like, why would anybody laugh at that? I thought when you went to Yale you had some intelligence. Why would anyone laugh at that? What is funny? I don't understand what's funny. If you liked Hillary Clinton, and let's say you didn't believe in Russian collusion and she pulled out that hat, that's not funny, you lost. That kind of sucks. If you believe that Russian collusion happened, why would she make that joke? I don't understand. That would make you pissed off if you believed in her and believed that she lost the election because of Russian collusion and she pulled out a Russian hat. That's not a funny joke. I would think, God, we got ripped off of our leader here. Why is that funny? I don't know. That's like somebody cheated at a game and they taunted you about how they cheated you. And I know she was the victim of it, supposedly, but that would piss me off if I was a supporter. And what do these jokes at all have to do with the class commencement speeches? Really? It's supposed to be about these kids. Stop making it about yourself. Hold down, let me give this class commencement speech as I pat myself on the back. Is your ego that big that you can't just congratulate kids, tell them, work hard, you can do what you want to do? Just normal things. Here's maybe a little story about me when I was down in that time and how I came back. Or here's how I was when I was in college. And what does that have to do with anything about election, politics? If she wanted to tell a story, why don't she tell a story about her husband and interns? You can be an intern too and get a free cigar. If you want to be a jackass, then be a freaking humorous one at that. But, and next up we had Al Gore, right? So Al Gore talking about an experiment's gone wrong, and sometimes they pull the plug. I mean, firstly, Al Gore's not a very intelligent man. He's another failed presidential candidate. And, I mean, here's a guy who has attacked a woman, has cheated on women. I mean, a disgrace, not a hero or role model for anybody, Al Gore. Really, a subhuman. But besides that, I mean, a guy that talks out of not both sides of his mouth, but I mean, it's just the shit's dripping out of his filthy mouth. Here's a guy that tells you to bike to work as he spends more money and electricity in a day in a house he's not even living in than you do in a year. Here's a guy telling you to conserve. Yeah, it's like them telling you, oh, water's really low. You should conserve it. Don't take a shower today. Don't eat anything where you need to boil water. And then the guy that's telling you that's out there with the hose spraying it in the air having a water party. And he doesn't care. He's got a leak here, a leak there. Yeah, spray it everywhere, man. It feels good. Spray it everywhere. That's Al Gore. I mean, a low-life, unintelligent fraud who barely even passed science in school, and now he's lecturing about science, whose dad made his money through coal and is lecturing us about global warming, whose dad voted against giving blacks equal rights, but's talking about other people racist. I've never heard him criticize his dad once. And then you had Jimmy Carter, another one with the commencement speech. And Jimmy Carter, I mean, he's a moron. To me, one of the worst presidents in the history of America. And he's gotten a reprieve from that being his moniker because of how horrid Barack Obama was. And you think this moron would just shut up and go back to the peanut farm and shell some peanuts and keep his friggin' trap closed and think, oh my gosh, thank goodness there's somebody who's a bigger moron in the office than me. Now I won't be known as the worst president ever. Thank goodness I'll just shut up, almost sound intelligent at times, but here's this moron talking about Trump. Jimmy Carter. I mean, I guess it just shows why he was such a moron when he was the president. Jimmy Carter, who basically is the godfather of the Iranian regime that we have today. The godfather of it. How many Americans have been killed and maimed? And he's the godfather of it. He's the guy who started it all. Look up the history of the Shah. Look up the history. Jimmy Carter planted the seed and helped that thing grow for 40 years. And then when it was somewhat wilting, then came in his buddy Barack Obama, who rewatered it and helped build that crop of crap back up, the terrorists that we all know in Iran. But you figure Jimmy Carter would just shut his trap by now. I mean, it is just insanity when you keep on doing the same wrong thing over and over again and you don't change up anything. This guy got the biggest reprieve. It's like the moronic fly who keeps on banging his head on the window because it's closed, banging his head on the window. There's Jimmy Carter, the stupidest president ever, worst president ever, and here comes Barack Obama, wipes him off the map. So it's like somebody opening that window, and all the fly has to do is fly right out, and he just keeps on stopping at the point where the window would be, like he's banging his head on it still. But there's no window there because they opened it. Because there came Barack Obama and opened it for Jimmy Carter to get out, leave town. Hallelujah for Jimmy Carter, who would be only the second worst president in the history of America. Nope, he's a moron just staying there. So, I mean, who's stupider? Only time will tell. Barack Obama or Jimmy Carter. Both morons, and Jimmy Carter's doing commencement speeches. And then you have the loser at NYU. NYU commencement speech. None other than Justin Trudeau. For those of you who don't know, Justin Trudeau, moron. Prime Minister, Canada. I mean, an absolute buffoon. Even most of the people in Canada know this guy's a buffoon. He's not a leader. I mean, he's such a, I don't even know how to explain it, low life. He's like the kind of moron that would, how do we say this right? Like, he would go to somebody's house, and let's say he knew the parents were Rastafarians. He would dress up like a Rastafarian just to go over. Look, I fit in. I'm just like you. Then the next day he's going to some farmer's house, and there he is with the farm hat on and the cowboy boots. Y'all, here I am, just like him, a cowboy. This is what a buffoon this guy is. Done nothing for Canada. Make them look weak as always. And even the people see this guy is not, he's just, I mean, a bad actor. Not a sense of a, as they say, bad actors or criminal. No, just a bad, this guy's the guy that, like, is not the backup when you're doing a play, an off-Broadway play. He's not the backup. He's like the stagehand. Yeah, we'll let you be the backup one day, Justin. And NYU, the communist college it is, has this fool doing a commencement speech. I mean, I would say I digress, but it looks like half of the colleges in the country have digressed. And of course, we had Kamala Harris, UC Berkeley. Now, what do you expect from UC Berkeley? Actually, I expected someone a lot more militant than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is only semi-militant because she's trying to be mainstream so she could run for the president. Now, if Kamala Harris is going to teach us on the back politics, then yes, she's the person that we need to know. Here is somebody who's so low class in Kamala Harris that she ran around with another politician who was a married man just to up her career and went out on dates with this guy, literally in front of this guy's wife. Spread like peanut butter just to move up in the world. But everyone else is against women, right? It's like the casting couch victim who made millions of dollars and now all of a sudden, hey, that wasn't right. I shouldn't have had to do that. I'm such a good actress. I shouldn't have to do that. Well, you didn't have to do that. You chose to do that. You invested. That was your deal. I mean, that is Kamala Harris. Invested on her future, in her back, or on her back, for good old Brown. And that's what we have here today. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week of the Reality Check. We'll be back next week. Have a safe week. Have a great, shouldn't say great because Memorial Day weekend is, Memorial, but, enjoy your weekend. I know for times and people, we have some fun because you get an extra day off, and those 3-day weekends are hard to find, so get as much enjoyment out of it as you can and stay safe. Have a good one.